When did you start swimming?
I started swimming when I was like, I want to say 7. Yeah. I got kicked out of swim lessons for not putting my head underwater, so I never did any swim lessons. And I don't know, we got a flyer at school when I was in 1st grade, and they said join the swim team, and so I did.
You didn't figure out how to put your head in the water?
Yeah, but I didn't figure out really how to swim or that it was like a competitive thing.
That's awesome.
Up until about age 12, we would like compete for like the purple ribbon or like the pink ribbon and stuff. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I like that. I like the getting kicked out of swim lessons.
Yeah,
it's good to know. Not everybody has to be a natural, right?
Right. I definitely am not a natural swimmer.
When did you start getting more competitive? You said about 12.
Probably like in high school was more like I did when I just stopped other sports and other activities and just swam.
Mm-hmm.
I was in 9th grade, I guess. So
before
that, I was mostly dancing, band, gymnastics, soccer, track,
Okay.
So,
did you swim in college?
Yes, I swam for 2 years. One for St. Cloud State and another for University of Northern Iowa. So,
when did you start marathon swimming?
That was in 2006 or 7. Okay, my husband's correcting me. 2007. He had a paddle. Yeah, everyone on my swim team, my master swim team, was like, we all swim this 5-mile swim across a lake every summer. Like Lake Minnetonka's kind of the place to swim and the place to be, and so everyone told me I had to do this, and so I did, and yeah, I actually really enjoyed it and had fun, but I didn't know that you could get like water, or feed or anything, or you could stop, or you could do a different stroke or anything. So I just kept going, and yeah, that was kind of painful. A good way to learn the lesson, right?
Right. So you started with the 5-mile swim because everyone else was doing it.
It's just like, oh gosh, the entire team is doing this. These people are like 20 years older than me, and they're swimming 5 miles across the lake. I can do it. And oh yeah, that was my first ever open water swim. So.
What was that like for you?
It was eye-opening, and seeing how fast people could go for so long. It was just like, oh my goodness. And, just kind of something that just was fun, and being into nature and stuff, that was kind of the kicker.
Right. Was there ever any time before the 5-mile swim that you thought maybe that you like you could endure like longer things?
I kind of always realized that I would do better the second time I was allowed to do the 500. I kind of knew that like longer things were like better, and like if I could do something for like 2 miles, I would have been good at it. But I avoided the open water lake swim every summer, and so I never really experienced it. And the first time I heard about marathon swimming would be probably in my freshman year of college. I competed against the 5K national champion. And so after seeing that and seeing the stroke, and just kind of made me aware of it, that there was something else, like in longer distances.
Then what? Were you excited about that?
No, actually, I was just like, Dad, are you crazy? I'm not hanging around like New York or Atlantic City, or what are you talking about? These are like, like what? But then as I went into it, it was, a few years later, 3 3 or 4 years later, I started like doing lake swims and thinking, okay, this is pretty cool. And in 2011, I went to the Open Water Safety Summit. That was just kind of after all the tragic, the deaths and stuff, and how to make our sport safer. And
Mm-hmm.
going there, I heard about the Traversee de Lac St. John and rubber ball. And after that, I seriously was like, I have to do this race. And I was going to do whatever it took to do that 32K race. And it was just kind of, that really just planted in my mind. And I just wanted to just did every race possible to get there.
Very cool. How do you describe the feeling of completing a marathon swim?
It's one of those just things that you're like, even if it was the worst swim ever, you're like, I'm done. I did it,
I did that, right?
Yeah, like, and also the sense of camaraderie, just feeling a part of something because everyone went through that too. And so they know what it's like. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Just feeling at peace with yourself and kind of the world for a moment,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking about that. That's a good answer. I like that. I don't think I've heard that before, and I've talked to a lot of people, but having that peace for a moment, that's very true. That you're just like, take a deep breath. Like that's a good way to put it.
And that's one of the, I like to stick around and watch everyone finish an event, and make sure, because it's just like something that you can share, you can share that moment of this accomplishment. And
yeah, and like even though they aren't as fast as you or whatever, but they did it too, and they get to have that.
It's the same swim. Yeah. We're all suffering at those times.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot. Can you tell us a swim that you're the most proud of?
I think probably the most proud that I've been would be the end wet 36 the first time. Just it really gave me confidence that I could do something for that long. And so, but doing the St. John swim was a dream come true, better than I could have ever imagined. And I just being in the environment and the history. And
will you tell us a little bit more about that, just in case somebody doesn't
know
about it?
Well, yeah. So there's this town called Rubberball in Quebec, and it's about 5 hours north of the border, so it's pretty out there in the middle of nowhere. And it is pretty much, it's a lake, is Lac St. John, and it's a ginormous lake, and the town is dedicated to swimming, basically. There is a on-site facility that has a medical station, because it's it's a medical hospital. It has their places to have press conferences. There's places for just them to host a professional swim event. And the town is just all about swimming, and it's all about this marathon, and it's been going on for 65 years, and they've changed the distances and moved it around. And for the past 65 years, people have been crossing this lake, and there's about, I want to say they sell tickets for 4,000 people to watch the finish of this race.
Wow.
And there's people on party boats, cheering you along the entire way. There's people at the finish, it's a huge festival, actually. It's called the Festival of the Lake. And so it's just a very special event. It's a very grueling event, because you start off across the lake in a river in Banca, and the temperature is a good 10 degrees colder than it is in the middle of the lake. And so it is just probably about, I don't know, I want to say 50s. Yeah, mid 50s. So it goes from that up to like 68 or 70. And so you're in there and you just have to last for 45 minutes, like, or 50 minutes, because it's like a 5K or 3K that you have to be in there. And you kind of have to be on display for everybody, because there's 2,000 people cheering for you there. And so you have to do a little course.
Oh, wow.
Upstream, back around, downstream, and then you get into the lake. And so you start off just being so cold, and then you get into the waves and the people and just the fighting, the aggressiveness that you're swimming on top of each other. I refer it to like sardines, like swimming in sardines, because like everybody's legs are all slippery. Like, yeah, so from all the grease, I'm just like, oh gosh. So one of the things that is really big about the race is that you have a guide, and you get assigned your guide, and so you get a little boat for yourself with your name, and they parade you through town the night before, and so it's just the whole town. It's really like something to see. Every single window will have a swimmer on it about a swimming event, and it's just like, this is so bizarre that they're really into this.
It's so cool. That's
yeah,
so cool.
like it's like, this is really, everyone's into this swim race. Right, this is awesome. So
Yeah, what a neat thing to be a part of. And you said that was 32 kilometers?
yes.
Yeah.
Now it is. Yeah. Yes.
I'm reading. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
There's been different, people on double crossings. There's just very different things over the history. But right now it is a 32. So on the series.
Cool. I'm reading Paul Azimuth's book.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so fascinating listening to that time period,
right.
And especially, like just, it feels like marathon swimming. And I don't know it's different for me. When I finish, it's like one guy, right? But for you, when you do these big events, it's different. But it sounds like this is like of yesteryear, like the marathon swimming of the 80s and stuff.
Yeah. Yes. That it is still like that.
It's awesome.
They no longer give you the huge robe, because everyone left them because they couldn't put them in their suitcases. So, but they gave you a pretty cool robe.
That's awesome. What a neat thing to be a part of.
Yeah.
Is that something you have to qualify for?
It's a kind of like an invitational. Mm-hmm. So, you do have to qualify. Somewhat, like your country has to give you the okay that you will be able to finish within the timeline, and it's not about like you have to finish about 2 hours behind the first place women and then the first place men. So
that's cool.
And so to qualify, I don't know, I think normally you have to qualify like through making the national team and going to nationals, and then through USA Swimming, but I was able to bypass that because of my history with other races and competing at different ones. And so I am not on the national team, but I'm still allowed to go to the events. And
that's cool.
And now I'm USA Swimming is signing off and soliciting the invitations. So
okay,
it's
cool.
It's a kind of a group of, I want to say about like 25 people that pretty much go around and do the swims all around the world. And it's like you said, in the 80s it was a really big deal, but you become kind of a little community, a little like family of like supporting each other, because you're all in foreign countries and you don't speak languages as like each other, and that's been really, really fun experiencing being able to swim with Olympians and, you know, and like see how they do things has been very enlightening, and just that they're no different than everybody else, you know. They have the same fears and they go through the same stuff that we do, like but it's great to be a part of something that is like that 80 like kind of the highlight of the marathon swimming. It's pretty special.
Yeah, that's cool. I want to go back to end what though. I want you to tell me about the one you're most proud of. So tell me about why you're most proud of that swim. The first time you did it.
Well, the first 36, the 27 was a different thing.
Okay.
Well, at that point, I had not finished the first 36 mile before that, and I got now 2 years before that, and I just really, you know, was in kind of not a good place then, and I had also promised for the next year that I was going to go to a different race, and so that I had not finished also, and so I went back there and I finished that race, and I just was like, all right, I don't even know, like, how is this gonna go, you know, like, okay, just finish, Sandra, don't worry about it. And I don't know, I think every marathon swimmer finds that moment when they're swimming and all of a sudden it all just like clicks into place, and all of a sudden you're just at that peaceful zen moment. And that was the first time that I really experienced that, and having just having a good swim, like, you know, not any big like hiccups, you know, like the kayak didn't tip. I was kidding. Just like having a good swim, and that's kind of what makes me so proud, is that I came from not finishing, and I finished it, and I had a good swim. Like, I didn't have a bonk, I didn't have, you know, whatever. It was very like a positive experience, and it's just like a big relief. I don't know. Like, hey,
absolutely.
wow, I did something cool.
Was that your longest swim at that time? Yeah,
that I'd ever done, and it was the longest I've ever swam to this date. Yeah, I've never swam that long in time. Before. And so that was pretty cool, like thinking that I can do something for that long. That's cool. So,
yeah, it's I guess I found it to be a hard swim. I did it in like 2014, and it's just so windy, and like I never felt like I could get a rhythm, and it was a flood year too, so it's like you're either in the current or you were in those flotsam. It's just torture, the whole thing.
It's just, I think I find a lot of peacefulness in that nature up there, and you know, it's also very similar kind of to Minnesota, and you know, and home and stuff, you know, and half of it is in Minnesota.
Exactly. It's just a little hop over for you.
So it's just kind of something that, you know, I feel at home in that river, so it just kind of, I don't know, doesn't scare me as much as it did the first few years.
Right.
First time you get in that thing, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't see anything. I'm
chocolate milk.
I'm feeling rubbery things, and oh gosh, a tree. The first year we had to portage, or you swam a mile or a little over a mile, and then you had to get out of the water and portage yourself around the dam. And then you got jumped back in the water with your kayaker and started 27 miles. And so my first year I jumped in the water and I got caught on a tree.
Oh god.
It's just like, boom. Oh, all right. It went around, you know. It's just like, just funny things, like not thinking, you know, and just
Wow. Yeah.
You know, and then you get in the water and it's all dark, and you're like, oh gosh, yeah. But
It's mentally
it's been fun.
challenging when you can't see anything, I think.
Right. I think the beginning of the race is harder because it's dark still, and so you go from dark to dark to dark to dark. It's like, so I don't know, that will always hold a special place in my heart, and so that's why I keep going back I've gone back, I guess, every year, yeah, except for this year, so yeah. Oh, I lost your audio.
Sorry.
Oh,
I
no
don't know how
problem.
loud it is behind me. I was just thinking I mean, it's awesome to have one that's kind of has a special place in your heart, especially that you can like hop over to, you
Right.
know, you can
Yeah.
almost swim there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's 4 hours away, so it's not.
That'd be really long swim.
Yeah, you know, it's a very cheap race, so it's just like, oh, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Can you talk
great.
about some of the ones, like things you've learned from times that you haven't finished?
I think I've learned that what's in my control and what's not in my control. Um, being more selective in what I do and what races I go to and what I'm kind of what's going to be my takeaway from the race. Also, I've learned that I can do more than I think, that in each of those situations, I've come back and accomplished, you know, overcome that obstacle again. And so, like, that's something that I make sure that I attend to, like, in like a failed attempt, like understanding what went wrong so that I can make sure that I have control over the situation the next time that happens. I know what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it is also talking to other people who have done the same thing and just, yeah, people just using it as a motivator rather than a defeat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having not that, I don't know, not the perfectionism that you have to do everything perfect, and everyone does everything perfect. So
Right. Right. Can you speak to the like when you first were talking about, you know, the first time you finished in and you're like, wow, I could do that. I swim for long, and that duration, confidence kind of carried over into other aspects of your life or anything like that?
oh yeah, and yes, it does. You know, going forward, thinking about, you know, doing things like this and talking about my personal story and how things have kind of unconventionally happened, and I got to accomplish, you know, a lot of things that I never thought possible, and at an older age. And so kind of just having that confidence that it's okay to be me, and I can do things as myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going as my authentic self,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is those failures and successes.
Exactly. Yep. It all makes you, right?
Yeah.
I love that. How about like adapting when like things get, let's go with tough, when things get really tough in a race, how do you kind of work yourself through that? Tough conditions.
Yeah. When things get tough in a race, I obviously like put my head down and remember to breathe every 3. That's kind of like and obviously swim to the next speed. Swim to the next speed. You know, that's not, you know, it's how you got to handle things. And I've also learned that sometimes you have to push back. And that's been really hard in marathon and professional races, like getting physical and being okay with that, and getting used to that is pretty hard. But
Yeah.
the best way to overcome it is just like being a good competitor. And, you know, at the end of the race, you know, you give each other hugs, you congratulate each other, and, you know, that's the end of the day. But, you know, trying to find the balance, that's pretty, you know, that's a big struggle. But during
Yeah.
races, like when things get, you know, rough, the first thing, you know, you got to try the half smile and just smiling to give yourself something. And also, I try to ground myself to the moment, like by breathing every 3, by remembering to focus on, you know, like just my fingertips and making sure my fingertips are down, and just making sure that I'm here and I'm, you know, in this moment, and I'm not thinking about all these other things that are going on. And when I was in St. Lucia preparing for that at the St. Lucia channel, I got the opportunity to talk to Philip Rush, and he like put it at really simple to me, like, your job is to go from here to there, as you know, and let's not dawdle about it. Let's get it done, you know, and let's get it done reasonably fast so that we can get back here and we can go have a drink and hang out and have our burger, you know, and your job is just to swim, and everybody else has everything, and you've done your homework and you've prepared, and your job is just to swim, and everyone else is going to take care of all the other things, and you just got to do your job. And thinking about that, like literally, like, okay, here is my arm in front of me, this is when I do this, and not getting ahead of yourself.
Yeah. You just said like a million amazing things that I just want to touch on.
Sorry about that.
That's awesome.
That's my brain.
I get it, because mine might not be too different. But so you were talking about the breathing every 3 and the rhythm, and I get that, like when I'm teaching people to swim, it's like they're like, you know, trying to figure out how to breathe, but like coming back to that fundamental, and you know, people talk about, like you said, obviously swimming to the next feed, but that's like 30 minutes away, but
Right.
finding that rhythm and being able to just like count it out, 1 2 3 1 2 3, you know, and it's like that, it's so helpful.
Right.
I love that. And being in the moment, I remember that when I did Tahoe last year, I was just kept going, you know, like, when are we finishing? It's so dark, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
and you're just having to be like, no, now, like, right now. There's this quote I heard once, it's like, now is never overwhelmed, and to think of just being, you know, just in the now. So that was
right.
Yeah.
Like, then thinking of what's 2
What
hours, 3 hours
ahead
of you.
Or how many feet, even when you're like, how many feet has it been? How many feet until dawn?
Right.
Like, you're just driving yourself nuts. Like, just
Right.
be, like you said, where's your hand? Where's your hand right now? You know, like, that's lovely. But you got into the pushing thing, and that fascinates me, because I played water polo for a while, and I had a really hard time with the contact, when I fell in love with marathon swimming, it was because the camaraderie and just like the see you on the other side. Like when I went to SCAR the first time, I just remember somebody saying that, and it wasn't a mass start. So like, tell me how you kind of came to grips with that and are, you know, working with it through it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's still, you know, something to get used to, and just exposing myself is how, you know, I've learned to do it. The first time really was I did a 10K in Roberval and Loch St. John, and that we all dove in at the same time, and we're all on each other, and you don't know what to do. You're trying to find a place to swim, but there's no place to swim. You want to go faster, but the person who's in front should be in front. They're going to go way faster. They're in the Olympics. So it's like, and so you don't want to go too fast, but you don't want to go too slow. And it's a fight over finding a place. And everyone's throwing their elbows and they're kicking, and in Capri, Napoli in Italy, I got just like dunked by someone, and It was just like, oh, and you pop up, and well, there goes the pack. Here you go. But definitely just being assertive in your own space is kind of being okay, is where it's at, like kind of where I felt the balance is. Also, you know, it's learning how hard to push yourself when, and that's, you know, again, a learning curve, and also adjusting and preparing, like in you know, like 30 something K race, it's going to be a little different physicality than in the 10K. The 10K will be the whole 2.5 hours. You're going to be elbowing people and fighting people. Even if you're going to get last, there's going to be someone right by you and you're going to be elbowing and stuff. And so it's also, but it's also like, you know, that you're not going to, like, nothing's going to happen because there's so many people and so many boats and stuff. So, like, there's safety everywhere. There's so many ways because of the boats. And so, yeah, it's kind of remembering that, you know, there are officials out there. Sometimes, you know, in the...
Yeah, it sounds like water polo too, though. So it's like, they may see you, they may not, yeah.
Yeah, you know, now I'm thinking about, you know, like Swim Miami, where they send off the 5K of, like, the 12 and unders, and there's a bunch of boys coming after you while you're doing the 10K, and you've been going around, you know, like 3 laps, and they come after you, and also a bunch of little boys are pulling on your legs, and, you know... There's someone with flippers, you know. It's just like, oh, you know.
This whole new appreciation for solo endeavors. You've
right? Exactly. Yes.
Oh man, how's the pandemic been for you?
Oh, it was a hard 3-4 months. You know, this has been the closing of pools was pretty tough on me. So we went to Florida for a little bit and locked ourselves down in Florida and had a pool that we could go to, like, that was in our hotel and the ocean, and just locked ourselves down for a little bit and then we came back, I want to say, yeah, beginning of June, right when things were going to start to open, and did our little quarantine for a little bit, and that consisted of swimming in, like, 47-degree water. That was not fun. It was pretty brutal wearing that wetsuit. We all hate them. Yeah. So having to do that, I also had a pool a baby pool or a kiddie pool set up with a tether in my in-laws, their warehouse at their work. And I had heat lamps over me, and the room was set at 70, so the water got up to 68, so that was, you know, a good, somewhat, you know, but that was 2 hours away from my house, so, you know.
Oh, wow.
That was hard, but it's been a roller coaster, you know, just trying to find some sort of schedule, some sort of stability and reliable things. Probably one of the best things is that our master swim team started a Zoom dry land.
Oh, fun.
And so it was every day, and so we all got to see each other. Well, not everybody, just, you know, some of us got to see each other. We got to work out, and that just formed the structure. And then having the pools open in June was very helpful, and the lakes, you know, there's a law against swimming in the lakes in Minneapolis.
Oh, wow.
And so
wow.
You have to swim, you know, in different places. And so that's another kind of thing that we've had to kind of deal with is wondering where we should swim, but
Yeah.
a lot, it's very fortunate that some people have gone and talked to Parks and Rec, and
I'm
they
like, hey,
say,
there's this whole other user group here,
yeah,
right?
and they're very like, okay, yeah, we're not going to be doing,
Interesting.
we're not going to be finding you in a small city, just
Mm-hmm.
in like, the urban areas when it's not allowed. They actually are opening their own courses. So
Interesting. Huh. I guess you wouldn't think the land of 10,000 lakes would have, that there would be a shortage of lakes, but there's probably the good ones for swimming, right?
exactly. And right now everything's really warm. It's
Yeah.
too warm almost. If you could
Mm-hmm.
do that. So.
Yeah. Speaking of warm, you were talking about the other end of the spectrum, cold. It sounds
Yeah.
like you're not in the market of being an ice swimmer, is not on your radar.
Uh, Not right now, but I don't know. We call it the polar plunge, in Minnesota. So yeah, yeah, it's not for right now, but nah, I definitely, anything swimming is something that I like. So I wouldn't be surprised to see myself there in the future.
Keeping your mind open to the possibility. I love
Oh
that.
yeah, I actually I know it will happen. Just so.
Start with wetsuit at 40 and hate it. That's how it
Yeah,
starts. And then you just
right.
plunge in. You like
I
them.
know. Yeah.
Just
As
around the
I'm
corner.
talking about swimming in 50 something degree water, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking of some, there was something that you said. Shoot. I mean, there's a lot of things that you said, and they were all amazing. But you were saying how you guys started this whole thing. My whole thing with Marathon Swim Stories started as virtual swim practice. It was just like 2 or 3 people. We didn't have a good agenda or dry land or any
Yeah,
organization or a coach. So then I just started talking to people. So anyway, I'm glad that it's turned into this because I'm getting to hear from people like you
yeah,
and
no,
everyone
this is
else. It's
great.
really awesome. What motivates you to keep going?
I I think just exploring myself, and that the like doors continue to open with like every swim, every interaction, everything. There's always more, and there always is more, and that's just kind of, it keeps me going, because if I stop swimming right now, I could be completely happy and content with myself, but I don't have to, and that's what keeps me going. And also my teammates, they keep me grounded, they keep me like lighthearted, and remind me of why I swim.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just that's yeah, I don't know. I know it sounds kind of weird to say that you swim for yourself, but I don't know. I don't think it's as weird as it used to be. So.
Right, right. Well, I guess it's twofold. I think it's good to, I think there's a social side of swimming that I long for. It's
Yeah,
hard for me now with having kids and like I have to balance all this mess out, but it is hard for me to like, well, I don't know. Like I know what you're saying. Like there's a part of like swimming for yourself, like, well, yeah, but like having your team there, like to surround you like that
yeah,
and to go places and see other people, like all of that just kind of makes it just so
make
worth it.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, it's for you, like deep down inside, right?
yeah. Like, it's so I can get those feelings. So.
Which is good. But we all do it for, but it
Yeah,
lifts everybody up. If we're all
yeah,
feeling good, it lifts them up. That was
yeah,
another thing I wanted to touch on. Your awareness with a smile, like trying to get, you said half smile. I love that when you're trying
yeah,
to get through hard parts.
yeah. Well, it's like, you don't have to be happy. Like, it's not like a forced happiness. It's a conscious act to create more endorphins in you and create more
Mm-hmm.
happiness in you.
Yeah.
And it's still being genuine to your, I don't know, sometimes it's anger, you're angry at the swim, you're like, why can't this be done? But, or you're cold, or you're scared, or, you know, You're upset that your husband has told you that you have 5 miles left, but you just saw a sign for 15.
Yeah,
So,
that's never happened.
just remember, knowing that you have some, I don't know, like it gives you just a little something. And before I got into the water in St. John and Piribanca, the coach that I brought with, Linda from Palm Beach Masters, she told me to do this, and this is a skill that I don't know, I've been through DBT therapy, and I don't know if people know what that is, but it's a dialectical behavioral therapy, and it's and there's a skill called the half smile, and that's what it is. It's being genuine, but consciously making yourself like feel better
Hmm.
in a distressful time.
Yeah, yeah, it's fantastic. I love it. When I did my crew, Charlotte Bryn was doing my crewing for me last year when I swam Lake Memphremagog, and she was talking to me after the fact, because the whole time like she was like making me laugh and like all kinds of things like while I was swimming, and it helped that like the waves were behind me. Like I really didn't have any time during the swim where I was just crumbling,
Yeah,
but having someone on the boat who was trying to make me smile a lot, like it really does lift you up. Like just to
yeah.
be, I mean, she's pictures of me literally like smiling while I was swimming, which is different from the half smile, but I think I get where it's trying to go. You're just
Yeah,
trying to, you're just like giving yourself that edge, like that
yeah,
little,
yeah. Little, I don't know, pat on the shoulder kind of
yeah, yeah.
thing.
I love that. I love that. How do you think we can include more people in marathon swimming?
I think just talking about it more to a wider spectrum, and and also providing opportunities for like leading up to marathons, the stages in between your opens or your first swim and to marathon swimming. And there, we do a pretty good job, I think, sometimes about, inclusion and diversity and stuff in our little niche of this little sport that we're in. It's a very small community, but I think we have a lot of progress that we can make, and I think that starts with smaller swims and building the community up from just the introduction of open water swimming. Because for me, it was learning that it exists,
Yeah.
and my kind of theory with how I was approaching becoming a professional in marathon swimming was I'm going through the back door and I'm taking people with me and kind of taking people along their journey and exposing them to it. And I think that's what all of us do, and we involve our communities, we involve not just our swim team. And your crew doesn't tend to be your swim team. It's
Yeah.
from everywhere and
Yeah.
everything. So I think that's and just providing the opportunities is really what I feel like needs to happen to
Hmm.
do that is access, and just anyone who swims, is the same, and not having so much judgment about little things, kind yeah, letting people do things their own way,
Yeah.
because we're all different.
Right. Yeah. It's okay to start with a wetsuit. It's okay to, do whatever you need to do to push yourself though. But, like
Yeah,
finding that.
because I feel like marathon swimming is really about what you personally get out of it.
Yes.
It's a personal accomplishment, And yeah, I think we all, I don't know, a lot of us believe that, it's the best thing in the world and everyone should do it.
Exactly. Exactly. That's how I feel.
The happiness. And
Yeah.
so I think, taking our spirits and putting them out there and showing how great this is. Like, we
Yeah.
are all ambassadors to the sport, because
Yes.
anyone who has completed a marathon swim knows what it's like to go through it. And
Yeah.
we can take and share and provide a safe place for people to come and swim and
Mm-hmm.
learn to swim, maybe, or learn to swim in the open water if you've never done
Yeah.
it before.
Right. Right. Just yeah. Just being yeah. I can I see it all the way through too. It's like from learning whether your accomplishment is getting in the water or whether your
Right.
accomplishment is getting in open water, but it's that I guess that you're facing yourself and your fears and you're pushing yourself. And
Yeah.
yeah, I love that. Also, it being ambassador to the sport is one thing I want to commend you on, though, because I guess at least I don't know, remember how I discovered you, but I'm super glad to have discovered you and to be able to, follow you.
Yeah.
It's nice, but it's great to be able to. It's great to, I guess, just see into that people's lives in that, in a way.
Yeah. But yeah, I try to be real that
Yeah.
life isn't perfect. And there's
Mhm.
negative, there's bad stuff, but there's good stuff, and we can make it. You can
Yeah.
make it. You can make it good, and
Yeah. And that's the whole thing
not
about
perfect.
what was
It's
that?
good. Not. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it can
Right.
still be good. And
Yeah.
I think we've all found that through swimming. And
Yeah. I think the analogy really carries over, and that's part of why I wanted to start interviewing marathon swimmers is because we're all facing, in a swim, and this is the pandemic specifically is harder than a marathon swim because we don't even know where the finish is.
right.
but
Or what it will
but
look
you
like.
right, exactly, but we're used to those ups and downs, and so I like that analogy and being able to talk to people and seeing how they get through hard times and how they get through or how they adapt to pulls open they close whatever, but I just love that analogy, and I think anybody can learn from what marathon swimmers are, I guess, capable of and have done for themselves. They can learn from that and take that to their life, but then
Yeah.
I also hope that they can take that with them and push themselves too, so multifold.
Yeah. Pushing
um
yourself in life as well as in swimming is
right,
also.
in whatever way it works for them, but it's valuable. Like you said, it just opens doors, like you just keep going because you never know what's on the other side. But if you like hide behind that fear,
Yeah.
then nothing's definitely going to happen.
Right. It's like Finding Nemo or whatever. Something's gonna happen to him. Well, that's silly. Then nothing will ever happen to him.
I love that. Oh, okay, two more questions, and then I'll let you go. So I'd have the rest of your Friday. What advice would you give to an aspiring marathon swimmer?
uh, the most important thing is swimming. To swimming more, or swimming faster is swimming more. Like, there's no shortcuts. It's all hard work. Everybody. The question I get the most is like, "What's your secret?" And it's like,
Just keep
There's
swimming.
there's not. I swim a lot. Yeah. So, my advice would be to just try and give yourself a chance to try. Like, don't sell yourself short, and don't take no for an answer. It's another thing. And, Lynn Cox says ask questions. And I think that's also another thing is asking questions of yourself, of other things. Let yourself make the informed decision about your own swimming. It's your thing. So, take it as you want it. Don't try to fill someone else's shoes or anything.
Yeah, yeah, that's fantastic. What marathon swimmer has inspired you?
Whew. Well, Shelley Taylor Smith, and she is, awesome. Like, I think her spirit and what, being as fast as all the men or faster than all the men is pretty and pretty intense, and how she's a great ambassador to the sport. And another is Ana Marcela Cana, and from Brazil. She is like good at every distance and just powerful, and it's really fun to watch her swim and compete and kind of just be a kind of a nice person, you know. So that's my favorite swimmer right now. So
That's awesome.
And I got to race against her, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Wow. Thank you so much for your time today. It's wonderful to hear your story.
Yeah.